Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos a la Esquina Española. Yo soy Profe Tyner y hoy vamos a hablar de la diferencia entre saber y conocer. Today we're going to talk about the difference between the verb saber, which means to know, and conocer, which also means to know or to meet. So let's get started. First, we're going to discuss these verbs and kind of their makeup in Espanol. So the first verb is saber. It means to know, to understand something cognitively, and it is spelled S-A-B-E-R or S-A-B-E-R. This is un verbo semi-regular. It has an irregular yo form. So let's set up our subjects that are possible to conjugate this verb, and then let's see what happens. Before we do that though, let's divide this verb into its ending and its stem. So we know it's an ER verb based on these last two letters here, the ending, and we know that sab is the stem. Now let's go through and add our subjects. We have yo, tú, él, ella, and usted are third person singulars, nosotros, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes are third person plurals. Remember, yo is when you're talking about yourself. The speaker is referring to his self, herself, themselves. Tú is when you're talking to someone. Él is when you're talking about a boy. Ella, about a girl. Usted is when you're talking to someone, but you want to show that respect because they're in a position of authority above you, so they share the same third person distinction. This can also be used for proper names or nouns. Nosotros is when the speaker is referring to themselves in a group, and ellos and ellas both refer to a group of people or group of nouns. Ustedes is when you're talking to a group of people. So the yo form of saber, here's where it gets a little crazy. Throw everything you're expecting out the window. It is not sabo, it is sé. An irregular Spanish verb. Just the yo form is irregular here, and you can go ahead and blame Latin. That's what we're going to do in our class. The rest are what you would expect for an ER verb. So you'd cross off your ending and add the expected endings for ER. So we would get tú sabes, él, ella, usted sabe, nosotros sabemos, en ellos, ellas, ustedes saben. Go ahead and try pronouncing all of these on your own, and be extra careful with that B. The Spanish does not like the big B sound when it's between two vowels like this. So really try to soften that B. Almost don't even let your lips touch. Go as gentle as you can. So sabe, sabes, sabes, you know? Okay, so yo sé would mean I know. Tú sabes, you know. Él sabe, ella sabe, he knows, she knows, usted sabe, you formal know. Nosotros sabemos, we know, and ellos and ellas saben, they know, and ustedes saben, you all know. But what do you know? Saber is used for very simple things that are possible to know, like facts, processes, things that are really logical to follow. So if I want to say I know how to cook enchiladas, I would say yo sé cocinar las enchiladas. I know how to cook enchiladas. It's a step-by-step process and it's pretty simple. This is also something where if, for example, someone comes to you and says, hey, 2 plus 2 is 4. Dos más dos es cuatro. I would say yo sé. That's something I know, right? It's an obvious fact. So that is the distinction we have for to know for saber. The other verb that we're going to learn today is conocer. So let's erase this. While I do that, you practice pronouncing saber. The other verb in Spanish that means to know is conocer, spelled C-O-N-O-C-E-R. C-O-N-O-C-E-R. Let's divide it again. So we know this is an ER verb because we can see that those last two letters are ER, meaning our stem is conos. It also means to know. It can mean to meet. And let's learn our conjugations. Just like saber. So this is something that the two have in common. This is a semi-regular verb, meaning most of it's going to follow a pattern we expect, but something is going to throw us off. And in this case, just like in saber, this has an irregular yo form. So it's not going to be conozco, and that's because conozco doesn't sound like this verb conocer. So Spanish inserts a letter to try to preserve that sound. So watch and learn. The yo form of conocer is conozco, spelled C-O-N-O-Z-C-O. Yo conozco. And you can hear that that gets preserved from the conocer to the conozco. The rest is going to follow a regular ER pattern, so do it with me. Try to beat me. You should already know your regular ERs for present tense. So we're going to have tu conoces. Our third person singulars conoce. Nosotros conocemos. And ellos, ellas, ustedes conocen. Our third person plural is conocen. So if we want to translate these going all the way down, we would have I know, you know, he knows, or she knows, or you fancy knows. Nosotros, we know, and they know, or you all know. So where this gets tricky, of course, is when you see when you see translations, they're exactly the same between conocer and saber. Now, saber means to know, and it means to know facts, things that are logical, things that follow a sort of process, and things that are very simple. Conocer is for a broader and deeper understanding. So I know that sounds confusing, but it's for an understanding of things that cover a sort of big umbrella of topics and require a deep dive into those topics. So if you really know a topic very well, such as I know Spanish very well, I know linguistics very well, I would say yo conozco la lingüística y yo conozco español, because I know these topics kind of inside and out. So the difference here you might want to focus in on is yo sé hablar español. I know how to speak Spanish. That is something you can follow in a sort of process. Pero yo conozco español means I really know the topics of Spanish, and I know it on a deeper level, and I can cover more topics than just yo sé hablar español. It also can mean to meet. So this is used for knowing people and knowing places. So if you have just met a person, or if you know a person very well, such as I know my best friend Hannah very well, I would say yo conozco a Ana. And that can mean I just meet Hannah, or it can mean I know her very well. If you know a place, like I know Los Angeles very well because I've lived here for a long time, I would say yo conozco Los Angeles. I really know it well. And you can kind of see how these are all related, because to know a person is very different from just knowing the facts. And to know a place is also very different than just recognizing it on a map. So for conocer, we have used for complex, big ideas, used for people, and used for places. You practice these while I set up a Venn diagram, and that'll be how we end this video. So let's compare and contrast saber y conocer. For saber, it means to know, and this is for facts, processes, simple ideas. for conocer. It means to know or meet. And it is for people, places, and complex or big ideas. In common, they're both ER verbs. They both have irregular yos. And they both mean to know. So that's all there is to know about saber y conocer for now. I hope you learned a lot. Get practicing. Adios!